Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB, and it is Wednesday evening, 6 o'clock Central Time here, December 9th. We're going to be looking at the Thursday Night Football game. We actually have a normal schedule this week, so that's going to make things a little bit easier for us as fantasy managers. It's also Week 14 fantasy playoffs. If you're not playing in Week 17, this is the first round of the playoffs, so we have a lot to look forward to. A really fun game to look at here. This is a previous Super Bowl matchup here between the Rams and the Patriots. This one's in LA, SoFi Stadium. So I'm going to hop into a screen share here. We're going to pull up. I wanted to actually open up with the box score from the Super Bowl. So what's going on, Harris, man? Thanks for hanging out. This was a really interesting Super Bowl. This was the lowest scoring Super Bowl in history here. Patriots 13-3. I think this was 2018. And Bill Belichick just stifled this entire offense. You see Jared Goff 19-38, 229 yards and an interception here, sacked 4 times, a 16.4 quarterback rating here. So I know these teams are different than what they were back then, both different defenses, both different running backs. But man, Bill Belichick just had the Rams number here. Todd Gurley was weird and injured in this game. C.J. Anderson, 7 for 22. Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods both, even though this offense struggled, Cooks and Woods both were able to produce. I think this was the year where Cooper Kupp went on IR midway through the season here. So I do have hope for our receivers in this one. But again, nothing really working here for the Rams. And then on the Patriots side, how much can we get excited for this fantasy offense here? We know Tom Brady's not there, so Cam Newton. Looked like Sony Michel had some rushing success here, 94 yards and a touchdown. Julian Edelman, 10 for 141. That was probably one of his best games of his career. Gronk, 6 for 87. But nothing really, sticks here with the Patriots offense. So we have a whole new look in New England, but I think the theme and the defensive battle here should be pretty similar. So we're going to start, we're going to hop over to the Week 14 start-sit charts on the fantasyfellowship.com. And I don't know, I guess we should probably first look at the practice reports before we get into this one. Let's click on New England side there. Again, they are the away team here. Looks like everyone's limited here. We're not getting anything out of the Patriots. Everyone's questionable. Everyone's limited. That doesn't help. But I guess in terms of fantasy, we really only care about Cam Newton. So let's quick look at the Rams parts here. Cam Akers. He did not practice Monday, limited Tuesday, full practice today. I'm not nervous about him. I think he's going to play for sure, and he should be the one running back that we think about playing here. And it looks like everybody else is relatively questionable. But before I guess we get into the actual game here, I stumbled upon a website today, profootballdoc.com. They do a really good job, and this website's free. I think I was able to just hit log in, and it logged me in with my Twitter account. But they do a really good job here. They're going to break down the game. They're going to give us even some of the betting lines here. They'll give the offense and defense and overall team some grades here. So just some really cool stuff to look at. We do see the Rams are favored by 5.5 points. But man, you just kind of look at this chart that they got here. So this is looking at the Rams offense. They're just going to kind of, if there's an injury concern here, they'll list it. And you kind of just hover over it and you can kind of see what's going on. Red equals probably out or IR. Orange is questionable here. So I was just kind of looking at this earlier today, and then you can even hit flip and it'll just show you some of the Patriots offense here. And then you also have the Rams defense there. So really cool little website here, profootballdoc.com. It's a team of doctors that will look into the injuries. And they also have there's an injury index here where we can, I think they're going to be uploading the rest of the games here, but for Thursday, they just have that one in there. You can also click on players and look at teams individually there, or there's this Docs Insights tab where they just kind of put out, one-liners and things like that there. So really cool stuff here on profootballdoc.com. They also just have their own little news feed here. So we can probably read some of these things later here, but the big one was Christian McCaffrey with this quad injury. No Drew Brees. Antonio Gibson's probably going to miss Week 14. Denzel Mims is not going to play this week. Family emergency, looks like a COVID-19 protocol situation. And then Tyreek Hill misses practice, but I think he's going to play. So I don't know. Cool little site here, profootballdoc.com. Check it out. It is free too. So all you have to do, if you have a Twitter account, I just hit logged in with Twitter and it logged me right in. So just wanted to shout out that website there. We got Turner hanging out in here. No problem, man. No problem. We started off 0-2, and now we're 10-3 in the 1 seed with a bye. Congrats, man. That always feels good. 1 seed with the bye Hell yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. Thanks for hanging out tonight. So, how do we assess this Patriots and Rams situation? There's not too many fantasy assets we want to be involved with this in this game. Looking at the fantasy points allowed here to the positions, we see only reds. Not even a single green matchup to take advantage of. Both teams top 5 against the quarterbacks here. Patriots are, you can have some success on them with the ground here. 22.8 points allowed to the running backs. Rams a little bit stingier, 20.9. Both really good against the receivers. The Rams are number 1 against the receivers here, so I don't really know if I want to touch any part of the Patriots passing game. And then again, I mean, the Patriots, man, they're just locked down against the tight end. Rams you can beat with the tight end, but are we really going to use Ryan Izzo for the Patriots? Probably not. So this game is going to be a tough game. I think it's more of a game that I like to. It's probably one of those better games that you watch on TV and not really want to get too invested with for fantasy. I think both Cam Newton and Jared Goff can be quarterback twos. Cam Newton should have a good opportunity to rush for a touchdown. And then Jared Goff, we did see in the Super Bowl, he was 50% completion rate. He did get some yards. He threw a pick. I'm a little bit nervous to get him going in my quarterback 1 leagues, but for sure, as a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues, I think you'd have to have some a really good option behind him to leave him on the bench. So I think both guys I prefer as quarterback 2s. Probably look elsewhere. There is some guys in the waiver wire column that I had that I think I liked a little bit better. So if you need help on the quarterback situation, we can look at those. And then Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Those are really the only must starts in this game. I have a tendency to start my studs. I don't want to miss out on any big game. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, they've been in our lineups all season. If we try to get too cute with it, it could look really frustrating at the end of the game here. So Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, we did see with the box score that back in the Super Bowl, Brandon Cooks had a really good game, and Robert Woods still had like 5 for 80 yards or something like that. So I think both guys can be used here as wide. Just kind of lower your expectations, maybe as wide receiver 3s. I think that's probably more appropriate call there. And then just looking at the Patriots here, Cam Akers, all of a sudden Cam Akers, let's just look at what happened last week with this Rams offense. Cam Akers, man, he is slowly gaining some steam and some momentum here. The Rams here. So Cam Akers, 52 snaps, 18 for Henderson and 13 for Brown. So he's the clear winner in terms of snaps. And then when you look at touches, 21 attempts, 3 for Henderson and 3 for Malcolm Brown. So he's dominating the snaps and he's dominating the carries. He also gets the touchdown, 72 yards here. So you love to see this with Cam Akers. The targets are going to be kind of split pretty much 3 ways for the most part. They do like Malcolm Brown's pass protection, and Darrell Henderson's still a pretty nifty guy when you get him in open field. So they're all going to be kind of used in the passing game, but it looks like they really want to get Cam Akers rolling here. So I think if you need a guy at the low end RB2 help there, I think he looks fine there. And then I also think Cam Akers as a flex play, if you need someone there, I think he's been a pretty safe guy for double digits the last couple games here. He scored back-to-back touchdowns in 2 weeks here. Let me just pull up his numbers a little bit more closely so we can see what's going on. And then we'll take a quick look at the Patriots defense and see what they've been giving up to running backs here. So you see Cam Akers back-to-back games over double digits, 14.4 and 16.4 to PPR league. That's fantastic. Or that's not even a PPR league. That is PPR. So Cam Akers, San Francisco, if you're nervous about the tough matchup here, he played really well against San Francisco. He busted off like a 60-yard run in this game. Just super productive. I don't like the yards per carry here, but if they're going to give him 21 touches against New England, maybe some good things can happen there. And then while we're here, let's take a look and see what the Patriots have been doing against the running backs here. So we're just going to filter that way. And then the Patriots, again, they rank 14th. They're giving up about 22.8 total points to the running backs. And just out of curiosity, I wanted to see, what have the top running backs been scoring against them? So Austin Eckler last weekend, a game where the Chargers scored 0 points. He was still able to get double digits with 10.8 points. But again, he's a clear PPR guy. You see Kenyon Drake, he had 2 touchdowns against the Patriots 2 weeks ago, 24.3 points. Looks like Duke Johnson, 6.3, Gus Edwards, 8.3, Frank Gore, 7.9. That's probably the floor for Cam Akers in this one. And then you see Zach Moss, 20.1, Jeff Wilson, 32.0, 10.0 for Philip Lindsay. So I think we're looking somewhere in this range of like a 8-point floor, upwards of 24 if Akers gets 2 touchdowns, but I feel more comfortable somewhere in that 15 to 16 sweet spot there. So some interesting spots with Cam Akers. I think if you need someone, you can use him. I think the Rams defense has also shown that they're a pretty good start here. We're not nervous about the Patriots offense, so I do like the Rams D. Tyler Higbee, Jared Everett. If you're streaming tight ends, we can figure that out in the comments if you guys need help there, but I'm not really trusting either one. Both guys played well last week, and they're on the field a lot. 84% for Higbee, 72 for Everett, 6 and 7 targets. Higbee gets the touchdown, but Everett, 6 for 44 here. So they both played well, but it kind of feels like roulette there. So if you need help at tight end, I suppose one of them could be the guy, but I'm nervous about it either way. But if I had to choose one, Higbee's been kind of the touchdown guy, but actually it's only his 4th touchdown in the season. So they both have very similar floors. It really depends on who's getting the targets there. So super interested in some of these pieces, but Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown, Josh Reynolds, we're not really going to trust that. So I'm into the Rams, but I feel most confident in the receiver group here. Before I get to the Patriots, I just want to look at some of these questions here. We'll kind of catch back up here. So let's see what Turner's got to say. So should we keep Jared Cook, Robert Tonyan, and Goddard, or should I drop one and pick up a receiver, running back like Zach Moss, Landry, or Pearman? I think Landry could be owned. I don't know if we need all 3 tight ends. I think this was the team where you said you had George Kittle waiting in the wings too. So I don't think I need all 3 of those tight ends. I'm keeping Tonyan for sure, and then it really depends. If you like Jared Cook more, you can make an argument for him. But for me, I'm going to keep Goddard and Tonyan. I'll drop Jared Cook, and I'll go after Jarvis Landry, who's had 2 really good, boom games in a row lately. So I like Landry there in that situation. Do you think Peyton Barber will be a good running back too? If you play in like a standard league or maybe even like a half PPR league, he's not going to be a high volume guy, maybe 8 to 10 carries. He doesn't really get a lot of catches. If you think he can score, sure, he could be a running back too, but you're kind of playing a gambling game there. So I don't love Peyton Barber going up against the San Francisco 49ers. I think J.D. McKissic would be the guy I prefer. But if you play in a touchdown league, I think that's where Peyton Barber becomes a little bit more interesting. But I don't love it. I'm not like running out to get Peyton Barber in my rosters this week. So Bobby Schmurder, thanks for hanging out, Bobby. Should I trade or keep what I got? We don't have a deadline. Also just got Gaskin today. I mean, if you can make a trade, and especially if you have a position, like a receiver position group that, you have like 3 or 4 really good studs there, you're going to use those guys throughout the playoffs, and you have a pretty good player on the bench, I could see, moving 1 or 2 people to get one of your good guys. But at this point of the season, if you feel really good about your lineup, I mean, stuff happens, especially in this weird COVID year. I don't mind having some good depth if you have the depth. I think it's definitely worthwhile holding on to it. You just said you got Myles Gaskin today, so I really like that, I'm assuming you got that through a trade. So I think Myles Gaskin is going to be a solid RB2 for us. But in terms of trade targets, I guess I would need to know if Bobby's still here. I'd probably want to look at like your running back, like your top, 3 or 4 running backs, and then your top 3 or 4 receivers, and then maybe we can kind of make a stronger take there for you. But I guess talking back to the Patriots here. So again, Cam Newton, really the only guy I trust. I don't even really trust him. I think he can be a usable quarterback too. And then really, what else do we do with this offense? The Rams defense is playing some of the best football in the league right now. You see they're 2nd against the quarterbacks, 7th against running backs, 1st against the receivers. Patriots don't use tight ends, so we're not going to worry about Ryan Izzo. So for me, I see this Rams number 1 against the receivers. I'm not trusting Jacoby Myers, Damiere Byrd, N'Keal Harry. I mean, I'd rather use anybody else almost off the waiver wire with a nice green matchup there. So we're going to avoid the receivers here. Sure, one of them could have a nice game. Probably one of them will, because that's just going to be the position that Cam keeps targeting. But I can't really accurately tell you which one I think it's going to be. I would assume Jacoby Myers is going to get the Jalen Ramsey treatment. So it could be Damiere Byrd or N'Keal Harry if you want to play DFS. But again, I don't really feel comfortable with it. In terms of the running backs, let's just look at how the snap counts went last weekend in Los Angeles. So we're going to see Damian Harris up here, 49% of the snaps, 33 total. Sony Michel, 22 snaps, 33%. James White, 19 snaps, 28%. I'm nervous about this because the week before Sony Michel only got 1 snap. So they increased his workload. You see 16 carries for 80 yards, Damian Harris. That's great output. But this was a game where they're up 45-0. I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball 30 times between 3 running backs this weekend. So Sony Michel's probably taken some of the excitement out of Damian Harris. I don't really know if I trust anyone here. And the weird thing was, James White, 3 catches, 1 yard, 3.1 points. really can't trust this for PPR purposes either. You see Harris catches the ball and Sony Michel. If you had to tell me I need to start a Patriots back, I'm probably going to lean with Damian Harris. He plays the most. He's going to get the most volume, but I don't really feel great about it. So that's why I have him here as a flex with a question mark. He's more of a desperation if you can't get anybody off the waiver wire or anything. No worries with, I guess, worrying on what to do with the Patriots running back. I think for me, just use Cam Newton. Patriots defense, man, could be worth a start there. I think they're on a lot of waiver wires. So the Patriots defense, if you need a pinch there, I think that's how I would go with that. But I don't know. It's a really simple fantasy game here for the Patriots and the Rams. I'm trying to avoid it if I can outside of Kupp and Woods, maybe Akers. So if you guys, I guess I'm pretty much all set on the Patriots Rams game. So I think I'm gonna kind of roll back here and look at some of the questions in the chat room. Let me see where I left off here. So we were looking at Bobby's team. And Bobby says, I got Herbert, Kamara, Swift, Jefferson, Thielen, Kelsey, D-Hop, Colts D, and Myers, PPR 10-team league. That all looks really good to me. I think DeAndre Swift practiced in limited capacity today, so I think he's going to play. You also have Myles Gaskin, you said there. So I do think you're looking pretty good at the running back spot. I mean, Jefferson and Thielen, especially going up against Tampa Bay. We just saw what Tampa Bay let happen to like Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes. Tampa Bay's secondary, that's where you want to attack Tampa Bay. So I do think Thielen and Jefferson and then Kirk Cousins tied into that too. I think that's going to be a really good spot for the Vikings. Kelsey is Travis Kelsey, so we love that. And then DeAndre Hopkins at the flex. Your starting roster is set, man. I'm assuming that's Jacoby Myers. I think I'm going to play Myles Gaskin over Jacoby there. So otherwise, I think that lineup looks pretty dang good there. Aiden Tobin, thanks for hanging out. What's good? Found you last week, won all my games. Yeah, man, made the playoffs, no problem. Not all because of me, man. You're the one that got the players there in the first place, and I was just kind of the one that helped push it there for you. So appreciate you hanging out. Thanks again, Aiden. Peyton Barber or J.D. McKissick. Harris, if this is PPR league, give me J.D. McKissick all day. I think that one's really easy. Myers is the kicker there. My bad. But Peyton Barber, J.D. McKissick. If it's PPR, it's a no-brainer. Give me J.D. McKissick. It's going to be a tough matchup here against the 49ers, and we see. I mean, this is basically nothing out of Gibson. So we know that this is kind of what the snap count could look like next weekend against the Rams. And McKissick, man, he's not going to get 10 targets in this one, but I think it's safe for him to get 6, 7, 8 targets, 5, 6 catches maybe. So in a PPR league, give me McKissick. And if it's a standard touchdown league, I suppose it could be Barber, but I don't feel great about it there. So Nick Chubb or David Montgomery. If this is for this week, Montgomery, the matchup against Houston is really good. And I think at the moment right now, like, can we name a hotter running back in fantasy football or the NFL right now than David Montgomery? He's had 2 of the best weeks of his career the last 2 games here. And then if I just filter here by PPR points, the Texans. So he played the Lions last weekend, smash hit, he got it. And then the Texans this weekend, who allowed the most rushing yards to the running backs here by a little bit over the Cowboys. So 1,677 total rushing yards here, 15 rushing touchdowns. I think we're going to love David Montgomery there. Give me that against the Texans. I love Nick Chubb, but tougher matchup going against the Ravens. I think Montgomery's the clear winner for me there. It looks like Bobby's in on this too. So Myers is the kicker. In that case, we're gonna probably, looking back at Bobby's roster here. I'm keeping everything in that you got there, but maybe take out Swift for Gaskin. I think I feel a little bit more comfortable with Gaskin. Usually when a player, especially a rookie running back, we don't know if he's going to come back and get the full workload and look like he was before when he got the concussion and the illness. So I think I'm leaning towards Gaskin over Swift, but for the most part, I'd be curious, Bobby, about your depth on your team, just to see what other pieces you have besides Gaskin there. Maybe that could help too if we see some of those names. So Nate Dogg, thanks for hanging out. Robert Woods or Scary Terry McLaurin. So this is tough because, last weekend, Terry, let me just pull this up. We were just looking at the Washington football team. The dude's on the field all times, 6 targets, 94% of the snaps, only 2 catches for 14 yards, though. That's super frustrating. In a game where Alex Smith airs it out for almost 300 yards, Terry only gets 14 of them. That's kind of a blip in the radar, I feel. So let me just kind of pull up something on the other side here. I'm just looking at a projection for Terry this week and seeing what he did. So Terry McLaurin at San Francisco, I'm assuming he's going to get a mixture of coverages from Richard Sherman and Jason Verrett. I'm not super excited about the offenses in either of these games. Washington's defense is playing some really good football. San Francisco, they also need to win to kind of stay into the playoff hunt. Then you got Robert Woods, really tough matchup against New England. But we did see before. I don't know if you guys were here when I pulled it up. Let me see if I can find that again. We were looking at the Super Bowl box score between the Patriots Rams Super Bowl, and basically what I saw was, I mean, they're going to give Jared Goff problems. Bill Belichick's going to be able to design some things that they don't know what's going to come, but for the most part, I mean, you see 229 yards here for Goff, 0 touchdowns, but Robert Woods still played pretty good, 5 for 70. I think at this point, I feel a little bit better about Goff and Woods compared to Smith and McLaurin. It's not going to surprise me if McLaurin has a nice bounce back game, but I think in this situation, give me Woods over Terry. As soon as I said this, we're probably going to see Terry McLaurin have a good game. But the good news is you have 2 really good receivers. I think I'm going to lean with Robert Woods, though. Looks like Bobby's in on the Woods too, so that makes me feel better there. So Aiden Tobin here is asking Nick Chubb or DeAndre Hopkins. This looks like a flex call here. So Nick Chubb, that's going to be Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens, and then DeAndre Hopkins. I think they travel to New York Giants. So I'm thinking here, the best cornerback for the New York Giants is James Bradbury. I would assume he's going to, for the most part, shadow DeAndre Hopkins for the most part. And DeAndre Hopkins he's been a fantasy stud for us all season. Nick Chubb, tough matchup here on the road. Or that one's in Cleveland here. So, what do we do here? This is a PPR, I'm assuming for Aiden. The floor for Nick Chubb, he's been running the ball so well, so I feel like there's a safe volume for floor there. But again, I'm kind of just nervous about Nick Chubb. The Ravens, man, the Ravens looked really good last night. Lamar Jackson played some good football. I do think that's a tough spot for Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield. And then I just feel like as soon as we bench a DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to have that freak alien game of, like 2 touchdowns, 120 yards. So I think for me, I'm probably going to roll with DeAndre Hopkins in that one. Ty Johnson or Peyton Barber? Whew. So Ty Johnson or Peyton Barber. So this is a really good waiver wire question. These are probably 2 of the most well available guys that are going to be on the waiver wire this weekend. I'm assuming Frank Gore is not going to play. I think that's the major piece here in this puzzle. I don't think there's going to – well, today was Wednesday, so there should be some practice reports. I'm assuming Frank Gore out. Frank Gore did limited practice with a concussion. That's interesting. I mean, if Frank Gore plays, I don't know if Ty Johnson's going to be as usable as he was last week. So that makes me nervous. Usually a guy with a concussion is not going to practice on Wednesday, but Frank the Tank here gets a limited practice in. So I guess this is a situation to monitor. If you told me Frank Gore was not going to play, I would say Ty Johnson. But as soon as I see this makes me a little bit nervous here. Maybe I lean Peyton Barber there. Peyton Barber is going to be the primary running back. We know J.D. McKissic's not a big carries guy, but I do think there's potential for Barber to get in the end zone. So I think I'm going to say Peyton Barber in that situation. Yeah, Swift does play against Green Bay. Let's see here. DeAndre Swift. They did have one game against Green Bay back in week 2, but the Lions still didn't know what they had really in DeAndre Swift, and they were frustratingly using Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson quite a bit more over him. But we do see a pretty good game here out of DeAndre Swift, at least for, reception-wise, 5 for 60 and then 5 for 25 on the ground. So not a great rushing game, but again, he was a very useful receiver, and he was a very useful receiver for us before he got hurt here. So I do like DeAndre Swift. I'm not gonna blame you if you want to get Swift in there. So we got this is Bobby's bench that we were asking about. So Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Rashad Perriman, Nyheim Hines, Devontae Booker, Alan Lazard, and Gaskin on your bench. Yeah, you got some good pieces here. I think I'm interested in Gaskin. I'm not Gaskin versus Swift. I think that's a valid question. You can lean whatever side you want there. I like both guys. I know what Myles Gaskin is going to do. He's going to get the volume. They're playing the Chiefs. They're going to probably have to keep up with the Chiefs. I could see some good PPR potential there. And then, yeah, like you said, Swift he's got one of the best. I think Green Bay is the 3rd worst team against the running back. So perhaps Swift versus Gaskin there. I won't blame you if you want to go Swift, though. So Aiden is asking T.Y. Hilton or Chase Claypool. T.Y. Hilton's hot right now. I think this is a situation where I'm going to go with the hot hand. And the one weird thing here that I noticed with Pittsburgh in this Pittsburgh-Washington game the other night, Chase Claypool, he was beat on snaps by James Washington. So 38 snaps for James, 31 for Claypool. I think this was the first game that I've seen in a while where Claypool was the fourth receiver in snaps. Both Washington and Claypool 4 targets, 2 for 38, 2 for 80, and a touchdown for Washington. So I'm a little bit nervous about Chase Claypool, where I feel pretty good about T.Y. Hilton against the Raiders. We just saw the New York Jets give the Raiders all they could handle. So I think I'm going to lean T.Y. Hilton and be pretty confident with that. Maybe if anything, if Chase Claypool is going to do anything, it's going to be one big play. He did have a couple chunk plays against Washington here, but I do think tough matchup against Buffalo. Buffalo just let Nick Mullins throw for 3 touchdowns, so maybe it's Chase Claypool. Maybe I just talked myself into Chase Claypool here having a bounce back game. So the good news is I do like both guys. I think I'm more comfortable with T.Y. Hilton. The veteran had his best game of the year, back-to-back games with touchdowns. Good matchup against the Raiders. I think I'm going to lean with T.Y., but I won't blame you for Chase Claypool there. So Hop's got a pretty good potential there, and the Cardinals need to win. They just got bounced out of the 7th seed spot here. So best player on the Cardinals to get them back into the mix here, falling down at 6-6. Let me just click on the playoff link here. We did see Minnesota hop the Cardinals here. Minnesota has a tough game against Tampa Bay as well. So Arizona knows that the loser of this game is going to be right in their grasp. So Arizona going to New York, they need to win. DeAndre Hopkins should pull up here. Looks like Bobby likes Chase Claypool here. Yeah, I'm not going to knock you for playing Chase Claypool. I do think we just saw Nick Mullins throw for 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards against them. So I do think the Steelers could have a pretty nice get back game here. So we got Fabian asking basketball. We're going to do a basketball mock draft show next Tuesday night. I'll be hanging out with my friends Drake and John. So if you guys want to watch some fantasy basketball next week, Tuesday night, we'll be going live probably around 7:30. If anyone's interested in doing it, Fabian was asking, we're probably going to do like a free fantasy basketball league. If anyone in the comments wants to join, you can hit me up in the comments or just let me know, and we'll get emails exchanged and stuff. But I'm trying to get together a fan-friendly, basketball league here. So if you're interested, let me know. Aiden's asking Jonathan Taylor or Raheem Mostert. This one I think is pretty easy for me. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Taylor in this one. Let me just pull up what the San Francisco 49ers last week, man. Frustrating. I mean, I got Mostert in a handful of leagues. They got to the 1 yard line like how many times? Like they called maybe like 6 or 7 different plays there. Raheem Mostert wasn't in on any of them. Their best running back not in at the 1 yard line. Super frustrating, but he did get 9 for 42, catches a target. But Jeff Wilson outsnaps him by 1 snap here. He's the 3rd down back, 7 for 47 here. So this situation is really weird to me. And again, they're playing the Washington football team, which just completely shut down. They shut down the Steelers. Like they didn't get anything going in the rushing game. It was all Ben Roethlisberger and sprinkles of Deontay Johnson. So for me, give me Jonathan Taylor going up against the Raiders, who just let Ty Johnson run for 100 yards and a touchdown. I think that's pretty safe for me there. So Harris is asking Peyton Barber or Ito Smith. That one really depends if Todd Gurley is going to play or not. Let's see if Todd the Axeman's got any injury report here. So we got a limited practice in. I don't know how confident we're going to be in the Atlanta Falcons running backs. If Gurley plays, I don't want to play roulette here with Hill or Smith or Gurley. And basically just on the lone principle that we know it's going to be Barber running the ball and McKissick receiving the ball, I think I feel better about Barber maybe falling into the end zone there. So Nate Dogg's asking Hunter Henry or Noah Fant. So I think Noah Fant has pretty much had a higher floor for the most part. I do want to pick up and see. So the Broncos, who did the Broncos play this weekend? And why am I blanking on that? So I think the Broncos are playing. Oh yeah, they play the Carolina Panthers. So let's quick look and see how the tight ends have been doing against Carolina. Steelers pretty good. 49ers pretty good. Where are the Panthers at, though? Whoa, the Panthers are low. So you see they rank 25th here, about 13.9 points per game, almost 700 total yards and 5 touchdowns for the tight ends. Let's see who the best tight ends. Wow, so we're on a streak here. You see this streak of double-digit tight end games? Kyle Rudolph, TJ Hawkinson, Gronk, Kelsey, Hurst, Cook, Cole Kmet. So this is looking pretty good, I think, for Noah Fant here. I think that could be a pretty safe floor there. We do like the potential for Hunter Henry against the Falcons. The Falcons are – so both teams are pretty bad. You see the Panthers here at 25 and the Falcons here at 27. The Falcons allow about 15.8 points per game in PPR and about nine touchdowns on the season so far. So that's a lot of touchdowns. I think Bob Tonyan hurt them the most with 3 touchdowns. But just looking at what has been done recently to them, I don't know if I feel confident. Falcons defense has been playing a little bit better too. You know, they've kind of turned it around with Raheem Morris. So I think I'm going to lean with Noah Fant in this one. Melvin Gordon just had a really big game. He burst a couple of really big runs, and Melvin Gordon, I mean, he hasn't really looked great this year. So it surprised me to see Melvin Gordon kind of be the reason why. He was the reason why the Broncos were in the game at the end. You know, they were only down by 6 points. So I do think if I'm the Dolphins, I want to get Myles Gaskins going. And then also like the whole game script plan. How do you beat the Chiefs? How do you beat Patrick Mahomes? You want Mahomes on the sideline. You want to run the ball. I think that's the recipe that you need to see to beat the Chiefs. So I still think I'm a big fan of Gaskin in that one. And we also know that Gaskin is the primary receiving back. We like Salvin Ahmed. Matt Breida is probably not going to play. I think he's still on the COVID list. So there's not a lot of competition at all for Myles Gaskin. So I think I feel pretty good about him. No problem. Stephen Drakes, what's going on, man? Thanks for hanging out. We need 2. Clyde Edwards, Kenyon Drake, J.D. McKissick, full PPR. And would you play Crowder this weekend? So Crowder's got the good matchup. We'll start there. Would we play Jamison Crowder going up against the Seattle Seahawks? I don't know what happened last week with Seattle against the New York Giants. Their defense played well. It was the Colt McCoy offense, but they didn't really allow a lot of receiving yards. I just think that the Giants were able to run the ball so well that it was kind of an afterthought here. But the Seahawks allowing about 48.2 points per game in the PPR department for wide receivers. This is a number that's been coming down too. If we were talking about this 3 weeks ago, we would have saw the Seahawks were allowing like 60 points per game to the wide receivers. So they're actually getting pretty good here, pretty stingy. You see this downtrend here. This is kind of what I'm talking about. So you see the huge numbers here to the top receivers, and then it's slowly going down. So only 7 points to Golden Tate, 4 for Jalen Reagor, 14 for Larry, 17.4 for Josh Reynolds. So this team, the difference is I think Jamal Adams came back and got healthy. So I would be a little bit nervous about Jamison Crowder, but if you think about how the Seahawks are going to be attacking Sam Darnold in the defense, it might make sense to get rid of the ball quickly with Jamison Crowder type throws. And then the other thing too with the New York Jets is we did see that Denzel Mims is away from the team. He has a family personal matter, so it's going to be primarily Brashad Perriman and Jamison Crowder running the snaps there. So Crowder makes sense. In terms of the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kenyon Drake, J.D. McKissick, it feels dirty to me to say I like J.D. McKissick in this situation, but I actually think I kind of like J.D. McKissick just because we expect him to be the primary the ball catcher there. With Clyde Edwards not playing last weekend, that kind of raises some questions for me. He was active, but he didn't play. So I'm assuming he's going to come back into at least a 50-50 timeshare with our guy Le'Veon Bell. Let me just get up to the Kansas City Chiefs here. So last week against the Broncos, you see Le'Veon Bell, 52% of the snaps, 11 carries, 40 yards, 2 for 15. Darrell Williams was the other guy here. So you add Clyde Edwards to this mix. You got 3 running backs that they like to use. I'm actually kind of nervous about using Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I have a league where, I got Clyde Edwards. We have, who else do we have? We have Raheem Mostert, and we also have Mike Davis, who we might have to use this weekend. So I might be benching Clyde Edwards this weekend. I guess while we're here, let me just quick pull up. I'm just curious to see what the Dolphins have been doing to running backs lately. That should be a good thing to look at here. So the Dolphins allowing about 22 points per game to the running back. That's pretty solid. You see, last weekend they played the Bengals. Of course, they're going to shut down Gio Bernard. Frank Gore got 11.6, Melvin Gordon 20.4, Balaj 15.2, and Edmonds 11.8. So there is potential for success here. I guess I would be nervous about how the running backs are going to be divided up for snaps. And then I guess we got one more equation here with Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake's been falling into the end zone, man. I would, if you had to bet, who's going to score a touchdown, Kenyon Drake or Clyde Edwards? I think we would all say Kenyon Drake for the most part. So maybe Drake is the guy. But they play the Giants, and let's see what the Giants did here. So I guess the Giants is a matchup you want to attack here. They allow almost 25 points per game to the running backs. Chris Carson just hit 20 last week. Gio Bernard, again, the Bengals, we don't expect anything out of that, 6.9. But then for the most part, every other game, double-digit points here. So I think I'm going Kenyon Drake and J.D. McKissick in this one, and we'll see about Clyde Edwards. I think I'd rather see what he can do on my bench before I trust him again. With the Chiefs, it's just going to be Mahomes, Tyreek, Kelsey, and then everything else is just kind of super hard to predict here. So what's going on, Jenna? Thanks for hanging out. We need a waiver wire running back off the streets. Pick one. Devin Singletary, Devontae Booker, Gio Bernard, Peyton Barber. I do have Ezekiel Elliott. So I'm going to start Ezekiel Elliott this week for sure, no matter what, against the Bengals. I think that's going to be your lock for running back one. But last week, man, this was it 2 nights ago? Devin Singletary basically just got all of the run over rookie Zach Moss. It was that awkward fumble, the fumble that counted against Josh Allen too. That really upset me. I ended up losing a matchup by 1 point because they counted this Josh Allen fumble instead of a Zach Moss fumble. So Moss fumbles early in the end zone, gives the ball to the 49ers. And then it was the Devin Singletary show, and he looked good. He looks swift and really shifty here. So I think the momentum, if you can get Devin Singletary, I want to be attached to the Bills offense. So I do think Singletary is probably the best player, even if it's just for this week. I still think he's got maybe the best potential this week, although it is the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think you could see a nice floor out of PPR here. Devontae Booker, we know Josh Jacobs is going to be out. He kind of let us down last week, but I guess the good news with Devontae Booker is even though he only got 50, I think he ended up with exactly 50 yards last week, right? But he ended up getting 16 carries. If you tell me a running back's going to get 16 carries, I think I'm going to want to use him for the most part there. So I'm just kind of looking. I wanted to look at running backs against the Colts real quick. This is a tough question. So the Indianapolis Colts, probably the best team, one of the best teams against the maybe 13th worst here, or 13th best against the running back, 22.1 points. So I think that's David Johnson, 10.4, Derrick Henry, 38.5. So there is a pretty good success story here that says Devontae Booker could be a nice high floor play. So if you want to be safe and you want to get a for sure a starting running back, Jalen Richard's going to probably catch a few passes and be a little bit pesky there. But maybe Devontae Booker is the guy here with the clear workload. But I think after what we just watched last night, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, for 1 week, I'll give Giovanni Bernard a chance, I suppose. He hasn't been the greatest, but in a game in Cincinnati, we know Giovanni Bernard is going to be the leading snap guy there. We'll pull up those numbers in a bit real quick. But let's just see what Giovanni Bernard's been doing. So the numbers aren't going to look pretty. The last 4 games, not pretty here. But this is, he's playing Pittsburgh, Washington, the Giants, and Miami. Those are 4 of the hottest defenses in the league right now. And now you're giving us Dallas, let's just look at what they did to Baltimore last night. Where is Baltimore? So Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins, 71 yards. Gus Edwards, 101 yards. Mark Ingram, 28 yards. Over 200 yards from the running backs here. So maybe there's an opportunity for Cincinnati's Giovanni Bernard to have some success. Last week, Bernard, 12 for 30, and he gets 2 for -1. And they're not even going to really use Samaje Perine at all. You see 17 snaps, only 3 touches. So if they're going to get touches to a running back, it's going to be Gio Bernard. So for me, I like Singletary for the long term. If you need one for just this week, I'm probably not trusting Barber against the 49ers. Give me Booker or Bernard. I think both guys clear favorites to lead their back. Bernard has the really good matchup, but I also think Booker could surprise us. So I think I'm going to say choose between Booker or Bernard, whatever one is in, whatever one you feel the best with. I think I'm going to roll with Booker maybe one more week here, though. Aiden's asking Tyreek Hill or DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know what was up with Tyreek Hill today, but he missed practice. Let's just pull this up. So did not practice with an illness. If he misses again tomorrow, I'm be a little bit nervous here. Going up against the Dolphins, you got Xavier Howard there. That's a pretty good defender, but we've seen Xavier Howard, get beat before. So let's just quick look and see what Miami's been up to against the wide receiver position. And we'll filter here. So the Dolphins, middle of the road here, ranked 16th against wide receivers. The best receivers against them, Tyler Boyd had the 1 for 72. That's a straight up play out of the Chiefs book there. Perriman. So there's a good history. Tyreek Hill's one of the hottest players. He leads the league in touchdowns. I think it might be him or Devontae Adams. So I like Hill's ability to get touchdowns. I do like DeAndre Hopkins as well. But I think you got to monitor this illness, because last week we saw Clyde Edwards, basically he was active, but he didn't play at all. He missed practice all week with an illness. So if Tyreek Hill's continuing to miss practice, I think that makes more sense. Hopkins, the easy play there. But man, give me Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. I want Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to my fantasy receivers here. So Michael Thomas or Cooper Kupp for my last flex spot here. I think Michael Thomas is the call. Going up against Philadelphia, we saw, where's Darius Slay here? So Darius Slay, he got roasted the last couple games here. That's such a tough stretch for Darius Slay. He's had to go against DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams, and now Michael Thomas. I feel bad for the guy. And just the Philadelphia defense in general right now, the whole team is just kind of this whole shell of itself here. So I think I'm going to roll with Michael Thomas. We have a little sample size now with Taysom Hill. 2 out of 3 games with Taysom Hill, Michael Thomas has been a success. And I know it was both against the Falcons here. I'm just kind of scrolling to get to the Saints. But you see Michael Thomas last week, 11 targets, 9 for 105. I think the other game against the Falcons, it was 9 for 104 or something like that. So for me, I could see Cooper Kupp having a good game tomorrow, but it's a tougher matchup against the Patriots. I think I'm going to lean with Michael Thomas. But I think both guys, pretty safe high floor. You're getting double digits for sure. But I think just based on how Michael Thomas has looked in 2 out of 3 games with Taysom Hill and going up against the Eagles, I think I'm going to lean with Michael Thomas there. So Harris YT, Peyton Barber or Adrian Peterson? Man, Harris is really considering the Peyton Barber squeeze for this one. So Adrian Peterson, I think it's going to be simple. If DeAndre Swift is going to play, I don't want any part of Adrian Peterson. Let's just quick pull up and see. We'll take a quick look and see how the running backs fared against the Packers back in week 2. You're going to see DeAndre Swift, 5 carries, 12 yards. Kerryon Johnson, 8 for 32, and he gets the touchdown. And AP, 7 for 41, no catches or anything. But Adrian Peterson's been playing some good football lately. And, I mean, especially in a touchdown league, I think based on paper alone, give me Adrian Peterson against the Packers. Again, this one's in Detroit too, so I like that. Peyton Barber and the Washington football team is traveling to Arizona for the San Francisco game. But you see Adrian Peterson, man, he's got something going here. Even if he falls into the end zone one time, if he gets more than 10 touches here, I think Adrian Peterson's probably going to be a little bit better play there. So what's going on, Evan? Thanks for hanging out, man. Start 3, we got PPR League. Allen Robinson, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. Oh my God. Whew, you're making me choose like all studs. This is tough. Okay, so how do we break this down? I think Justin Jefferson at this point has proven that he's a must start. I mean, we don't want to feel like an idiot and leave that Justin Jefferson boom game on our bench here. So I'm just going to actually pull up what the wide receivers have been doing against Tampa Bay. I think we know Tampa Bay has a good defense and they can stop the running backs. The spot where you can beat Tampa Bay is against the wide receiver. Tyreek Hill basically just showed us this. Tampa Bay is allowing almost 41 wide receiver points to the position there. We know it's Thielen and Jefferson, and if they're allowing about 40 points here, I think both guys have a good chance at 20-point games. Just looking at some of the high scores here that Tampa Bay has allowed the receivers. Tyreek Hill, 57.9. Robert Woods, 30.9. DJ Moore, 19.6. A couple hiccups here with Sanders and Shepard, but these are kind of floor games here, so I feel pretty good about Jefferson. I also like Adam Thielen for those with Thielen questions on the side. As far as Allen Robinson, though, going up against the Houston Texans, who Yes, they lost Will Fuller for the season, suspended on PEDs, but they also lost their best starting cornerback, Bradley Roby. So I think for sure I like Jefferson and I like Allen Robinson among the most. And then you got this question here of A.J. Brown going up against Jacksonville, which could be really nice here. We're going to pull up our website StatMuse real quick. A.J. Brown versus Stephon Diggs. We just saw Terry McLaurin get shut down by the Steelers. That kind of makes me nervous, but I think Stephon Diggs at this point has proven that, hey, he's going to get his targets. He's going to be a decent floor guy of about 10 points. And then the thing with A.J. Brown, here I'm just typing in A.J. Brown versus Jaguars, and then we'll hit game logs here. So looks like only 2 career games here. I don't know what I think this might have been his first or second game of his career, probably the second game, but last year, 4 for 135 and a touchdown. That would be pretty sweet there. Because I like the upside of Robinson and Jefferson, I think A.J. Brown's got the higher ceiling, so I think I'm going to go with A.J. Brown there, but I wouldn't fault you for Stephon Diggs. So if I have to start 3, give me Jefferson, A-Rob, and A.J. Brown. And then Diggs, I'm avoiding that Steelers matchup. It's a tough matchup. It is Sunday Night Football. Josh Allen's playing good football too. So I totally get it if you want to go Diggs over A.J. Brown, but Stephon Diggs doesn't catch touchdowns. A.J. Brown catches touchdowns. So I'm gonna go with that there. What's up, Bam? Thanks for hanging out. Ronald Jones or Kareem Hunt? Rest of season. I think I'm going to go with Ronald Jones. Let's pull up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule. Looks like we got that queued up already. So Tampa Bay, coming off a bye week, they're going to get Minnesota, Atlanta, Detroit. 3 defenses I think they can take advantage of here, especially if you're asking me rest of season. That Lions matchup week 16. Ronald Jones, I think that's going to be a really fun one there. And then the thing with Kareem Hunt is, let's just quick look at the Browns schedule. Tough matchup this week against the Ravens. We just saw the Giants defense shut down Seattle here, so I'm super hesitant about calling this a good play here against the Giants. And then you get the Jets week 16, so that's a good similar situation to Ronald Jones there. But for me, we know Hunt is kind of the RB2 in that offense. We know Ronald Jones is the premier running back, like the actual best running back over Leonard Fournette in there. So I think I'm going to go with Ronald Jones with his upcoming schedule here. And I think we might see Tampa Bay commit to the run a little bit more, maybe limit Tom Brady in the passing department just a little bit there. So I'm kind of interested in that. So Ronald Jones for me. What's going on, Sport Dog? Thanks for hanging out tonight. So we made the playoffs. We're going to try Herbert as quarterback. It looks like Allen and Woods as receivers. We're going to flex McLaren. My options for receiver are Allen Lazard, assuming that's Mike Williams. Deebo Samuel, would you change my receivers or run with them? So as far as your top 3, Keenan Allen, Bob Woods, Terry McLaurin, I'm gonna stick with who got you there. I don't see Terry McLaurin having 2 bad games in a row. I think that would be pretty crazy. Lazard, though, Allen Lazard, man. Let's go back to StatMuse real quick. Because if I remember, Allen Lazard has had some of his best games against Detroit, and he's looking like a high floor guy. So the last time earlier this year, 3 catches, 45 yards. Then 2 games against Detroit last year, 4 for 69 and a touchdown, 4 for 65 and a touchdown. Allen Lazard, he's back, he's healthy, he's playing some good football here. So if you're a little gun shy on Terry McLaurin, I totally get it. He's gonna have to deal with Richard Sherman and Jason Verrett in this game, which, I mean, that should, make us think twice about it, especially after he just laid a 3.4 down for us. But you see Allen Lazard here. I don't have him on the list. Why don't I have Allen Lazard on the list? My bad there. So let's just quick go to Pro Football Focus or Pro Football Reference here. Really good stat reference here for you guys if you want to look into box scores a little bit. I'm just going to hit the final game here for the Packers. So let's see what Allen Lazard did. So Lazard, he was the 3rd most used receiver on the team, 42 snaps, 69%. In terms of snaps, let's see here, or receptions and targets. Allen Lazard, 4 targets, 3 for 50, but you're also getting Aaron Rodgers targets. Like, that's a huge difference compared to Alex Smith. So if there's one guy that we could maybe fling out there over McLaurin, I would maybe do Lazard, but I'm not going to blame you if you want to just lock in Keenan, Bob Woods, and McLaurin there. But consider Alan Lazard if you want to go with a guy that has had some good success against Detroit. And then, I'm going with Justin Herbert too. I have a little more leniency with Justin Herbert. I play in a super flex league, so he's my quarterback too. I'm just going to roll with Herbert as long as I can. But I am expecting a bounce back game from Herbert going up against Atlanta. So the running backs are Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones. Other option is Myles Gaskin, J.K. Dobbins, David Johnson. Yes, use Hawkinson for sure. Hawkinson for sure over Goddard, not even thinking twice about that. I'm trying to avoid the entire Philadelphia situation I can. If you guys have Miles Sanders, you guys should be considering not even using Sanders this weekend. So if you guys need help with Sanders questions, we can get there. But Derrick Henry against Jacksonville, hell yeah. Aaron Jones against Detroit Lions, I think I want some of that. We've talked about Myles Gaskin being a really good play there too. Maybe you play Myles Gaskin at the flex over Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't hate that. We know Myles Gaskin's in a really good position there. The offense is going to feed him the ball. So if you're feeling that, Myles Gaskin maybe over Terry McLaurin at the flex, I wouldn't argue with that there. Corey Davis or Antonio Brown. Give me Corey Davis. Give me Corey Davis going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars there. We don't know what to expect with Antonio Brown. Really, we don't like that Tampa Bay offense in general is just kind of hard to trust. I think just looking at the schedule, I think tomorrow night we're going to be – so these are some of the games we'll be going over tomorrow night in the part one of my start sit stuff. We'll go over the Texans, Bears, Cowboys, Bengals, Chiefs, Dolphins. We'll look at the Cardinals, Giants, Vikings, Buccaneers. So we'll talk about Antonio Brown a little bit more tomorrow night. I have him on the bench right now. I have Corey Davis in the lineup against Jacksonville. Roll with Corey Davis. J.K. Dobbins or Peyton Barber? Give me J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, better talent, better offense. Let's roll with J.K. Dobbins. Evan's asking, Alvin Kamara or Montgomery? PSA. No problem, man. Thanks for hanging out. That's I love that comment. That's awesome. David Montgomery's playing some good football, man. And he gets the Houston Texans. I love AK-41. I love Alvin Kamara. But let's quick take a peek here. I'm just curious. I mean, if you were to ask me the best, we just saw Aaron Jones rip off a huge run against this defense. It was at the end of the game, but if you take away that touchdown run, Aaron Jones was looking at under 10 points in a PPR league. And then with David Montgomery, let's quick pull up here. I think I need to just fall into the bright green matchup that is the Texans here. They give up the second most points to the running backs. They have allowed 15 touchdowns here. Let's just filter this real quick. Only the Detroit Lions have allowed more rushing touchdowns. They're still giving up a good amount of points in the receiving game here. But again, if you filter by rushing to the running backs here, Texans giving up the most yards. David Montgomery gets 95% of the touches in that backfield too. So for me, I mean, we just saw Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines both have really good games here. They haven't had one game. A running back against the Texans has not failed to get double digits here. So I think I'm going to roll with David Montgomery. Feel pretty good about that one there. Adrian Peterson or J.D. McKissick. If it's PPR, give me J.D. McKissick. If it's half PPR, I'll have to think about it because that's a huge blow to McKissick's value. So if it's hard because if we know DeAndre Swift's out, I think Adrian Peterson's going to be on a lot of our start lists. I think that's going to be a really good play against the Packers. He's had a lot of success against the Packers in over the years there, whether that was with the Vikings or with even the Redskins. He had a pretty good couple games against them. So if it's PPR, give me J.D. McKissick. But if DeAndre Swift's out, I think I might lean towards Adrian Peterson on that one. Steelers defense or the Bucks defense. They're playing some of the hottest offenses in the league right now. You got, Pittsburgh going up against Josh Allen, who just put maybe one of the best, games of film on in his whole career against the 49ers. So that one could get out of hand. I also think the Bucks versus the Vikings could get out of hand here. So Sins, do you have both the Steelers and the Bucks defense on your roster right now? Or are you trying to pick up the Bucks to play over the Steelers? I guess what's the situation there? I think just from a fundamental standpoint, I think the Steelers defense is better. Josh Allen has been, turnover prone. I guess Kirk Cousins is too, but we just saw Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes just destroy this Bucs defense. I think Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are going to have a pretty good day. I think I'm going to roll with the Steelers there. Just a much better defense as a whole. I know it's Josh Allen, but sometimes Allen makes mistakes, and the Steelers defense, they kind of just limit everybody there. So I think I'm going to roll with it's just a better team on paper. It's a tough question though, because I do think Tampa Bay can limit Dalvin Cook, which is what you want to see. But man, I want no part of Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen right now. I think I'm going to stay away from that. Not even average. Thanks for hanging out. PPR league, pick 2 of the 7. Ton of options is good. No, options are good. So DeAndre Swift, I think we're going to love DeAndre Swift if he can play, but because you only need 2 of the 7, dang, you have a good team. If this is your 7 that we're picking from, I feel really good about this. So Cam Akers, interesting, but he's in that mess with Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown going up against the Patriots. So not excited there. If DeAndre Swift plays, I think DeAndre Swift is must start. Kiki Cutie or Brandon Cooks? Deshaun Watson just said some really nice things about Kiki Cutie today that caught my attention. I don't know if we trust Kiki Cutie just yet. I have been recommending people to go add Kiki Cutie if you can. So he's definitely a guy. And this, because you said this is PPR league, against the Bears, we just saw the Detroit Lions have a really nice game against the Chicago defense here. So maybe Kiki Cutie, you're attached to Deshaun Watson. Again, Kiki Cutie led the team in targets, 8 for 141 here. So I do like Kiki. Brandon Cooks, he had some concussion symptoms or something here. So I'm a little bit shaky there. If I'm going to use one Houston Texan, I think I'm going to use Kiki. And then Claypool against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. You got Landry against the Ravens on Monday Night Football. I don't think I'm using Michael Pittman at all. I think this is going to come down to DeAndre Swift, Kiki, or Chase Claypool. So if you like any of those guys above, I would say just lock those 2 in. But for me, if Swift plays, he is the one guy for sure. And then I think it's going to be between Kiki Cutie and Chase Claypool for me. Because it's PPR, I'm going to lean Kiki Cutie. Should be a safer floor. He's got more opportunity for targets. Where with Chase Claypool, we just saw that he was 4th in wide receiver snaps, as far as Pittsburgh Steelers go, and only 4 targets last weekend in a game where Ben threw the ball a lot last week. Let me just pull this up. So he throws the ball 53 times and only 4 targets for Chase Claypool. What the hell's going on around here? So I'm a little less excited about Chase Claypool, especially in a PPR league. I think Cutie offers you the highest floor in a PPR league. I could also see Jarvis Landry. I think Landry could have a nice game. We just saw the Dallas Cowboys have a pretty good game last night there, but I think Jimmy Smith was out too. So I hope that helps. If you have more questions on that, I can kind of make that more clear. But I think I got the ones in there that I liked. Any ETA on Jacobs' return? We have Aaron Jones, Gaskin, Jacobs, and Hunt. Well, the good news is you don't need them this week with Aaron Jones and Myles Gaskin. So that's really great. It sounds like they're just being really cautious with Jacobs. I would assume next week would be the week to get Josh Jacobs back. Just out of curiosity, I want to pull up the Raiders' schedule real quick here. Spell schedule correct. They get the Chargers next week. That's great. They get the Chargers at home next week. Okay, so hopefully they're saving Jacobs for this. And then we might even want to use him against the Dolphins here. So I'm cross. I have Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones in one of my leagues. Those are my first 2 picks in my big draft. So crossing my fingers, I don't care. Keep Josh Jacobs healthy this week. Let Devontae Booker take all those tough Colts hits. Let's get Josh Jacobs back against the Chargers. I think that's what I would love there too. So you're considering Gaskin. No problem, man. I think just from a floor and safety standpoint, and especially, as good as the Chiefs defense is, you can run on them. We were talking earlier, I think Bobby was pointing that out, that Melvin Gordon ran for 131 yards against this team. And Gaskin, man, just every game, his worst game has been 9.2. That's a tough matchup for sure, but the Dolphins are pesky. And look, they're going to give him the ball. They're going to get, he's going to get 20 touches, whether that's 16 carries and 4 receptions. I think that's a really good number for him to hit. So give me the volume. Give me Myles Gaskin in that one there. So Aiden's asking, pick 2, Nick Chubb, James Conner, Wayne Gallman, J.K. Dobbins, full PPR. I mean, at this point, it looks like Wayne Gallman's like must start, right? And that dude, the touchdown streak finally ended. Disappointed about that, but the man, like won the game for them. Like he was the reason why they didn't have to throw the ball. He kept them on track. 16 carries, 135 yards, 8.4 yards per carry. So just really good stuff here. You see 6 straight games, double digits. It wouldn't surprise me if he finds the end zone against the Cardinals. We've seen some really good stuff with Wayne Gallman. So I think he's the one guy that I feel more confident in over James Conner and J.K. Dobbins at the moment. Nick Chubb, I'm going to have a hard time sitting Nick Chubb. I did think, basically this is the comparison here. Let's just look up Ezekiel Elliott. Because I think whatever Zeke ended with last night, that's going to be your floor for Nick Chubb. So just assuming worst case scenario for Nick Chubb, worst case scenario for the Cleveland Browns would basically look like what the Dallas Cowboys did last night. So the Cowboys were down, playing from behind, and they couldn't really get the run established with Ezekiel Elliott. So this is essentially what Nick Chubb's worst game should look like against the Ravens here. So 13.5 points, 77 rushing yards, 4.3 yards per carry. Even if you take away 2 of the receptions there, you're still looking at a pretty decent floor for Ezekiel Elliott or for Nick Chubb. So I do I like Chubb and I like Wayne Gallman in that one. So yeah, I think let me just check out this other one here by Sport Dog 1000. Besides StatMuse, is there any other website that would help us make all of our player decisions? Well, StatMuse is I don't use that all the time, especially StatMuse is nice because if you especially a divisional game, so last week, if you wanted to look up, typically this is when it comes to mind to use it. When I know T.Y. Hilton, he plays in the AFC South, and I know he's played the Texans quite a bit in his tenure here. So this is when I know that I can see a huge list of results here. So that's when I like to use StatMuse to look back there. But any other sites to use to make decisions? I mean, the one that I use a lot here is FF Today. I mean, this is one I pretty much just use at all times here. If you go to fftoday.com, you can actually hit the stats tab. And right here, you're going to get all of, offense. This is all of the stats for this year. So if you just click on running backs, you're going to get all the running backs here. And then you have your nice little filter. If you play Yahoo, you play ESPN. Otherwise, I just do, FF Today PPR. So that's a really good way to see current stats here. And then right underneath here, you see this. This is what I look at a lot. And if you want to see how a team is doing against the running backs, again, same thing. You just filter. You look at what's going on here, and then you can even click. So you want to see, what have running backs been doing against the Packers. You can click into that, and you're going to get every stat from who played the Packers. And then you scroll down a little bit. This will tell you the top player by week, the remaining schedule here. So FF Today is big. It's a free website. I've been using FF Today since as long as I can remember, probably for over 10 years now. So I love FF Today as an extra website for you guys. So pick 3 wide receivers out of these 6. Julio Jones, Chase Claypool, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Cole Beasley, Terry McLaurin. So Sins, is this full PPR? If you could answer that real quick, that would help me. But I think we've already established how much we love Justin Jefferson going up against Tampa Bay. He's one that I'm going to pull out for sure. We've kind of already talked about being not excited about Claypool, McLaurin. They could have good games. They might not have good games. So those guys are both on the fence for me. I think Mike Evans going up against Minnesota, give me that. If Tom Brady's going to throw a touchdown, my money would be on Mike Evans catching that touchdown. So I like that game there for the Bucs and the Vikings, 2 guys there. So Evans, Jefferson, those guys are 2 of the 3. I don't know how we're going to – I don't know. Yeah, Andrew's in the chat room here. What's going on, Andrew? He says, go Mike Evans. So big Mike Evans guy there. PPR, points per reception. Do you get a point for every catch your receiver makes? That would be a huge difference there. But for me, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, I think those guys are the 2 that stick out the most. And then Julio Jones going up against the Chargers. I don't know how we can bench Julio Jones when he's healthy. So I'm gonna, again, it's week 14. I have a rule kind of where I'm gonna stick with my studs: Julio Jones, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans. Those are probably the best group for me there. Cole Beasley, though, had a really nice game. If you feel Cole Beasley, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good game against Steelers. But Julio, Jefferson, Evans, I think that's how I'm going to go with that. So we're leaning towards Swift if he plays. However, for the number 2, I was thinking Landry. Browns are on a hot streak, and Landry has been doing good. No, I agree there with the Chase Claypool, unreliable. He's been kind of losing steam. I don't want to call it a rookie wall, but he's definitely not playing as great as he was earlier in the season. So here, this is a perfect example here. So Sport Dog was asking about StatMuse here. We know Jarvis Landry plays in the AFC North. So let's just see what old Jarvis has been doing against the Ravens lately. So 5 career games with the Browns versus these guys. So you see 5 for 61, 7 for 74, 8 for 167, 5 for 102 and a touchdown, 5 for 69. I think we answered our question here. Good call. I could see Jarvis Landry having a pretty good game here. It's on Monday Night Football too. So my brother's in the chat room tonight. That's Andrew Bauer right there. And one of his favorite things in fantasy football is to secure that Monday Night Football hedge. So it doesn't always work, but especially if you're choosing between Jarvis Landry and a guy like Terry McLaurin or something, I think was his name on the list. Andrew would lean towards getting that Monday Night Football guy in, so you can just have that last say in whether or not you win your game or not. So Jarvis Landry, we just saw what the Dallas Cowboys were able to do against the Ravens. Let me just show you guys that real quick. I think all 3 receivers were usable in PPR leagues last night. So Gallup, 11 targets, 7 for 86 and a touchdown. You see Amari Cooper, 5 for 43 and a touchdown. And then CeeDee Lamb with a floor game here, 6 for 46. So that's 10.6 points in a PPR league. Let's roll with Landry. He's the clear number 1 there. I like your thinking there, sir. So how do you see Kupp in weeks 15 and 16 at the flex position? Rams schedule. Jets and the Seahawks. I love them. I love Cooper Kupp. Fire him up against the Jets. Great. I mean, we just saw Darren Waller, who, I mean, if you think about Darren Waller, he's not really a true tight end. Sure, he's listed as a tight end, but for the most part, Darren Waller's a glorified slot tight end receiver. So that's where Cooper Kupp's going to operate a lot of his stuff from. So Cooper Kupp against the Jets, that looks good. And then the Seahawks. I mean, we've been picking on the Seahawks all season here. I know they've been getting a little bit sturdier lately, but I do like the opportunity there. And I guess again, while we're here, Rams, Seahawks. We know Cooper Kupp has played that team before. Let's just see what old Cooper Kupp has been doing against our Seahawks. And what do we got? 5 for 50, 4 for 45 and a touchdown, 9 for 117 and a touchdown, 5 for 39. That's his worst game here, and then a couple bad games his rookie year. I think I'm feeling pretty good about Cooper Kupp there. Pretty safe with Cooper Kupp. So I have all of them on my bench, on my roster. Yes, go Mike Evans. No problem. Aiden, what's going on with Terry McLaurin, Antonio Brown, Jarvis Landry? Do we have to pick just one there, Aiden? I mean, I think we just convinced ourselves with Jarvis Landry looking at that. I think everyone could see that looked really good here. We're not really scared of the Ravens defense. The Cowboys, Andy Dalton just had a really good game. But I do know last night the Ravens were missing who were they missing? I think it was Jimmy Smith and then like a couple defensive tackles. So they might be a little bit better, but still Landry's the go-to guy. Baker Mayfield's playing good football. Monday Night Football hedge. Let's go with Baker there. No problem. I hope we're gonna win this game, man. Don't worry about it. I appreciate the subscription. So would you want to rate my team just for fun? Yeah, let's do it. So we're going on about an hour and 8 minutes. I think this will be the last question here. I got some other things going on tonight. But yeah, let's rate one more team here, and we'll sign off. We're gonna be going live tomorrow night too. If you guys don't know, you can thefantasyfellowship.com. This is my website here, and I do put my start sit charts out. I think that's in the link below in the YouTube video. So if you guys want to check that out, I'm going to be updating the rest of these probably tonight and tomorrow throughout the day. But I put all my start sits in a chart format here. I'm going to list all the fantasy points allowed to the positions here. And then I do have all of the these are all the games we're going to be talking about tomorrow night. So all the noon games are up for to be looked at here. I just got to fill out the fantasy points allowed here. So I do have that on the website as well. Waiver wire column every week. Opportunity report. We've been looking at that throughout the night. That's where I list all the snap counts and all the stats. But my weekly YouTube schedule. So I try to go live at the same time Monday through Friday. Tonight was the Thursday night start sit. So we talked about the Patriots at the Rams. And then tomorrow night, we're going to cover all of the noon games. And then Friday night, we'll hit up the remaining games on the week 14 slate here. So 6 o'clock's next couple nights. If you guys want to hang out, come hang out. So 12-team PPR league starting Ryan Tannehill. Good move. Dalvin Cook, can't bench him. Austin Eckler. Great. Tyreek Hill, Jarvis Landry, Bears D, Evan Ingram, and Buffalo Bills. I can't remember his first name, but Bass, the kicker there. So looking at the bench real quick here. Brandon Cooks, Chase Claypool, Hayden Hurst, Ben Roethlisberger, Michael Pittman Jr., Cam Akers, Kiki Cutie. Okay. I think the strength of this team is going to be I'd like your running backs, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler. I think that's a really good spot for you. Tannehill. I mean, Tannehill and Ben Roethlisberger. You got 2 top 10, top 12 quarterbacks, so that spot's locked for sure. And again, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, really nice group there. Your backup running backs are going to be Cam Akers. So we can maybe use one more running back, but I mean, we're not going to be benching Cook or Austin Eckler, so I do think you're safe there. Maybe we would try to get maybe one more guy if we could. But you got a lot of bench receivers here. I like Brandon Cooks. I like Chase Claypool. I like Kiki Cutie. I think that's looking pretty solid there. And then your starting receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jarvis Landry. It looks like you're starting Evan Ingram at tight end. And your flex is DeAndre Swift. Okay, yeah, I was going to ask who your starting flex is. So that makes me feel great about your running backs. You're telling me we got Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, and Cam Akers. I think that's a really, really solid unit there. This team is built, man. You got some really good depth here. Tight end points, Evan Ingram. It's not the greatest, but we can make do with what he's been doing. I'm probably not trusting Hayden Hurst at all, so I think you're going to probably roll out with Evan Ingram the rest of the way. But I do think we're in trouble with this defense, man. This Bears defense. I don't trust the Bears defense all of a sudden. If we just kind of quick look up, let's go back to FF today here real quick. I mean, they just got housed by the Packers 2 games ago. They just let Detroit put up 34 points. Let me just click into here. So the Bears defense has been dropping. Where are the Bears here? So I don't know what your scoring format is and whatever this FF today stuff is. They're going to rank 22nd here. So let's see here. Last week against Detroit, again, they let up 34 points, 41 the week before, 19 to Minnesota, Tennessee 24, 26, 24. Now they get Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans coming to Soldier Field there. I don't trust it. I'm not really excited about the Bears defense. I think you might be able to get a better waiver wire pickup. I don't know if Seattle is available or anything else like that, but I do think we could maybe improve our defense situation there. DK versus the Rams week 16 if I make to the finals. Oh, I don't want to think about that yet. I have DK Metcalf on my team as well here. I just want to pull up the Seahawks schedule because I don't know. I can't remember who they play week 15. Yeah, a huge potential spot here. Rams, Seahawks, DK Metcalf. I'm trying to think because we know did DK Metcalf play against Jalen Ramsey last year? We're going to pull up DK Metcalf versus Rams game logs. So 2 games last year against the Rams, 6 for 78, no touchdown. But again, this was December 8th. So I know Jalen Ramsey was on the team then. And then 2 for 44 and a touchdown back in October. I'm assuming Jalen Ramsey was when did Jalen Ramsey get traded? Traded to Rams. I'm just trying to see the date here. .com news. So October 15th, he gets traded to the Rams. So this October 3rd game wouldn't have counted. So he doesn't have any touchdowns against Jalen Ramsey, but he did go 6 for 78. So there is some potential hope here. And the other thing, too, that I noticed with DK Metcalf, here's another one. DK Metcalf is just kind of the guy that you don't want to bet against. If you bet against him, yeah, he's going to take that personally. He's got the chip on his shoulder. So here's what was going on. Like I remember when he was playing the Cardinals, the last time he played them, we were super nervous because back in that one game where Tyler Lockett blew up for 53 points, DK Metcalf was blanketed here, 2 for 5 targets and 23 yards. That is a 4.3 game out of DK Metcalf with Patrick Peterson all over him. And I just remember the last time I'm like, okay, what do we do with DK Metcalf? He's 3 for 46 and a touchdown, but he also dropped a touchdown in this one. He could have had more. So I think, I mean, as long we're definitely gonna have to come back to this and reassess this take when we get to week 16. Maybe things are different. Maybe we're feeling really good one way or the other here. But I would bet on DK Metcalf. Giving us his best chance. He knows Jalen Ramsey got the best of him last time. I think I'm going to lean towards Metcalf getting the best of him in this one there too. So we'll see what DK Metcalf can do here. So yeah, I think yeah, no problem. Thanks for hanging out, guys. This was a really good show. I had a lot of fun answering your questions. Tomorrow night's show, again, if I just kind of show you guys, I'm going to be trying a new different format here with the week 14 start sit charts. I think what I'm going to do is I'm trying to save all the questions and stuff for the end of the show. So my format, I think I'm going to try to do from now on is I'm going to talk about a game, the Texans Bears, and then I'll answer a question. We'll move on to the Bengals and the Cowboys, and then I'll answer a question. And we'll just keep doing that until I get to the end, and then it'll just be rapid fire. We'll answer all your guys' questions and make sure everyone gets what they need. But it looks like tomorrow, let me count. We got Titans Jaguars, that's 1. Broncos Panthers, that's 2. Vikings Bucks, 3. Cardinals Giants, 4. Chiefs Dolphins, 5. Cowboys Bengals, 6. And Texans Bears, 7. So we got 7 games to talk about tomorrow night. We'll answer a lot of questions. We'll hang out, have a good time. But I don't know. I want to thank everyone for the chat room, hanging out. Thanks for the new subscriptions. Yeah, I just appreciate your guys' time so much. This is a lot of fun for me to do. So if you guys are learning something from this, that makes me feel good. So I'm happy to help. Hope you guys can learn a thing or two. But for the most part, I want you guys to have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks. Peace.